to breaking news and breaking news herself tonight, Fox News contributor Sara Carter, Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Sara, let's start with your breaking news tonight, and then we'll go through the list here.
Well, Sean, I think, first of all, the memorandum and the criminal referral that was released today by Senator Grassley, according to a number of sources that I've spoken with, just even as before I got on the show with you tonight, they say that Senator Grassley is literally right above the target. Imagine if 95% of this criminal referral was not redacted, what we would see. What we know now is that Christopher Steele was in contact with friends of Hillary Clinton and persons at the State Department, that he was being fed allegations on President Trump through these associates of Clinton, and that he put together a second dossier. This is stunning because not only did he include some of that information from the second dossier in the dossier that was used to obtain the FISA application, but we know now that some of these allegations actually came from people close to Hillary Clinton. This was very political. It shows, according to the sources.
Wait a minute. So friends of Hillary Clinton are giving Christopher Steele information. Walk it from there. And then that information is used to create a phony dossier confirmed by Clinton friends, and then that's used for a FISA warrant, and the FISA judge isn't told Clinton paid for it.
So I think this is what's so compelling here. The argument on the Democratic side and former Obama administration officials is that Russia somehow colluded with the Trump administration. But all the evidence shows that Christopher Steele, a foreign British agent, by the way, he's a foreign agent.
I thought it was bad for foreign agents to influence our election, Sara.
Yeah,
I read that somewhere. I heard that on fake news CNN.
Yeah, so not only do we have, a British agent, but the British agent is now gathering evidence and information, alleged evidence and information from Russians to put in this dossier. And not only that, he's also in contact with Clinton allies who are also feeding him allegations. And somehow he's using those allegations to buttress off of the Russians in order to compile a dossier that isn't verified.
Let me go to all this new news. There's a lot to download here. All right, so I have in front of me, I have the Grassley, the new memo out tonight. It actually says here, Greg, Mr. Steele gathered much of his information from Russian government sources inside of Russia. Then it goes on to say that the FBI director testified before the Senate Select Committee June 2017. He told the incoming president-elect, that it was salacious and unverified. But months before, didn't he use that dossier in part? Wasn't it used by Comey?
How can Comey admit that it's unverified and salacious and a fabrication, and then sign under penalty of perjury an affidavit using that same document, the dossier, to get a search warrant to spy on Trump associates? You're right. Comey needs to answer that question. But look, this is really the definition of government corruption. They knew it was a false document, but they used it anyway.
But that's the point. They knew it was false. They knew it, and they purposely misled the judge, didn't they?
And they used it to open the Trump-Russia collusion case in July of 2016. They didn't have a legal basis to do it. If you look up the law, it's very strict. The FBI has to do two things. They have to identify a potential crime. They had none. Collusion's not a crime. And second of all, they have to have what are called substantial articulable facts. A fabricated document is not that.
So if Hillary's people, and we know who they are, Sara, you know who they are, and I know who they are you going to mention them tonight?
Yes, I think we should. I mean, there's already been reports out there. It's Cody Shear, and he was a former journalist, and he was a very close ally of the Clintons. He worked with then President Bill Clinton in his administration. There's also Sidney Blumenthal.
Sid Vicious is back. Shocking.
Shocking. I remember I wrote about that several weeks ago in a report that I filed. So there are a lot of connections here and a lot of questions that need to be answered. There's also another name, Jonathan Winter, who is the special envoy for Libya at the State Department. And that's very interesting because Christopher Steele was a foreign asset. I mean, they used him.
Let me go back to the law here. So we have two memos two dossiers, if you will. But there was the first dossier was 16 separate memos. So we have then a second effort by Steele. Steele also leaking all this crap with coordination, according to Glenn Simpson, to media outlets in this country.
And lying to the FBI about it.
And lying to the FBI. So you have Clinton's feeding the dossier, the phony dossier, and also fake Russian information. And then that is used as a means to spy on an incoming, to stop a president from getting elected and then an incoming campaign.
Yeah, it would be abuse of power and perjury on the part of the DOJ and the FBI. I want to mention one other thing. I now have two highly placed sources who say that on January 10th, about 3 weeks ago, Rod Rosenstein threatened to subpoena the calls and texts of members of Congress because he was, quote unquote, tired of dealing with the Intel Committee. That, if true, is obstruction of justice by Rod Rosenstein.
Hey, Greg, Chuck Schumer said it. They'll get you 6 ways in Sunday. And then the guy on CNN making another threat. We'll get to that later. Thank you both. We're way behind.